Let's talk about old scooters. Alright, happy Monday everyone. What are we going to talk about? Sorry, my gimbal was playing up a little bit, so if it all of a sudden it turns off and drops. So if all of a sudden it just goes and looks at nothing else, you'll know that's fucked out. The Piatti is on the bench. That's because the owner is gone full committed on this. We have contacted Wasner and said, boom, do it. Make us 4 pistons. And he just went, that thing's too cool. Strip it down, we're going to paint it, chrome it, do all the nice stuff to it. So that's going to be a cool bike by the end of it all. It's really not too bad. It's complete. So it's just basic stuff like chrome works a little bit, tatty, you know, all that kind of stuff up there. There's a few little dents there, that kind of thing. But really, there's nothing missing and nothing too damaged, so it should be a fairly straightforward build. So what I was going to do, I'll set the camera up on a tripod and time-lapse to pull it apart. Maybe I'll tack that on the end of this. So that's where we're at with that. That Indian, I've just committed a little bit to that as well. I've never liked the big ugly mudguards, so I bought myself off eBay some Sport Scout guards, which don't have the big valance in the side. I think that's great on a Chief, but it looks silly if you put it on anything else. But this thing just has those sort of nice big long swooping curves to it, and look much better than the sort of these things. So they're big and thick, and they sit way up, like 4 inches off the wheels. They look a little bit silly in my opinion. So yeah, and I've got everything in from a place in America to get that into rolling frames. So I have the wheels, but like I'm missing a lot of stuff, so I can't even put them in the bike and make it a roller. So I bought all of that. I've got hub axle stuff and bearings and all that kind of cool stuff. Yeah. So that, and I bought tyres. So that should, in the not too distant future, start resembling an actual bike. I'll be able to sit on it. That'll be cool. Sitting on my Indian. The last thing I was just going to mention was the Banshee. So have a look in here. I put a little expansion tank for the radiator, because what's been happening is, as it gets hot, I never had one on, so generally they just sort of spit the coolant out that you don't need, and it finds its own level. But the problem is, because I've got like this radiator on here, and then you've got low tubes, and then it comes up to another radiator, so every time I fill the radiator up, I've got to bleed this just to get all the air out of the system. And what's been happening, I've figured out, is when you top it up and you go for that first ride where it's sort of finding its level, it's brilliant. You can ride it in, you know, Africa heat, and it just sits constant. And then when it cools down, it sucks a bit of air in the system, and then when it starts up again, it fires it round and fires it into that low radiator at the front, and it catches there. And that seems to slow everything up, and it starts running warmer. Now where I'm at with it is that I put that on, thought, yeah, I've done it. I went for a blast down the motorway. It went into the expansion tank just like I wanted, but as it cooled down, it stayed in the expansion tank and didn't suck back into the radiator system. I had that problem with the Daimler. I found it was a radiator cap. You have 2 different types, one that does that and one that just sucks air in. This one's supposed to be one that sucks the coolant back in, and it's not. And I don't know if the seal around the top of the radiator itself is a bit damaged and it's not sealing, and it's sucking air rather than coolant. I don't know, but hopefully it's not going to be too much of a problem, because that thing is like that far away from being rock solid, reliable. You know, other than the temperature thing, everything else it does is amazing. So yeah, that's where we're at. I'll set up the camera and time lapse this thing coming apart. Ka kite anō. There it is. Well, mostly. That's all the bits that make it up. Man, rusty nuts waste a lot of time, I can tell you that. Fork came out. Look at this thing. It's so low with a 7-inch wheel that it won't even go in my wheel clamp properly. And there are loose steering head balls everywhere. I think that's enough for now, because now it's a lot of time bagging stuff up and labelling and taking your time to make sure that you remember how it goes back together at the other end. So there you go. That's a good day.